So back to dog posts, and something was written over the weekend. Who is the most equipped team to take out Georgia right now? And this was an extremely long article from Larry Reeves, who wrote about a lot of the teams in the SEC. I mean, and all the teams on Georgia's schedule. He calls the Georgia schedule, the 2023 schedule for Georgia is Charmin soft, although not totally by design, thanks to the SEC. Of course, Oklahoma, a road trip to Oklahoma is not on the schedule from here on out. Um, and you're talking about a program that's gone back to back for national championships. What would the motivation be for the 2023 Dogs? Who is the most in the way? From what I think, there's only been one three in a row championship, and that was in the 30s. So it's just not common in college football or in sports for these things to happen. I think the Islanders did it. Obviously, Michael Jordan's Bulls did it twice, which was an exceptional run. And really defined the 1990s in not just sports, but not exclusively basketball, but sports culture. No one is looked at more now as a winner, no matter all of the bad stuff with Michael Jordan, so to speak. MJ is considered the ultimate winner now. I mean, I would hold Kobe Bryant in the same general vicinity as MJ, but Kobe never got to six, which I think was something he was always desperate to do. Who is the most likely program slash team to stop Georgia from accomplishing that goal? That's a really, really, really good question, and I don't know that it's an obvious one. I think um, one thing that Larry talks about in here is he doesn't think it's anybody on Georgia's schedule. Um, and I don't know that I necessarily disagree with him. Make sure, by the way, that you're picking up double dogs. A lot of people are picking up double dogs and dog instruction at the same time. If you've not ordered dog instruction yet, that's not an issue. Get it and double dogs at the same time. Double dogs is the inside version and the insider account of Georgia's 2022 national championship season. It's an extremely long article on, or I don't know what it's called. It's not called articles when it's in a book. Extremely long chapter on Ohio State. Really long about Missouri and why that game matters or mattered. Really long about Texas Christian and some of the behind the scenes stuff. Why were Kirby and Eli Drinkwitz talking for so long, and well, talking for an extended period of time after the Georgia Missouri game? Now they didn't get to shake hands, but they talked for like 5 minutes after Kirby got done with his press conference. I've literally never seen that before, and um, it was something that happened that night, and that was the place setter, that Mizzou game. That was the place setter. Do they have the season that they go on to have a national championship season without that Missouri game? I don't know. But I think that, by the way, the link for Double Dogs is down below. We're going to get that started to ship out to people sooner than later. So order today. Um, that game, um, there were two real fights along the way. They were both road games. The Missouri game, and to some degree the Kentucky game. Kentucky was really more about weather, I think, than anything else. But those two games show that there's just really no telling where you're going to run into trouble. And one thing, Larry's talking in here on this article. It's killing the king of college football, and he's talking about he's asking the question, can anybody really stop these guys? And his conclusion is they can't do that the teams that are on the schedule for Georgia. And again, the schedule, let's just review, and we're going to review it plenty as time goes on. The 2023 schedule starts with Tennessee, Martin, and Ball State. Obviously, Georgia's going to win those games, okay? Then you've got the South Carolina game in Athens. I don't think Georgia's going to lose to South Carolina, but there's going to be plenty of discussion that South Carolina is the dark horse team in the SEC East. I know South Carolina very well. I went to school in South Carolina for college. Um, I get it that they are not going to win the SEC East in 2023 unless something very odd happens. They're not where they need to be as a whole program. Teams that lose 5 games the season before don't typically win the division the next year. I think Georgia did that in 16 to 17, but it's not real common. UAB, no. And then you start getting into, 7 straight SEC games, starting with Kentucky and Athens. It's going to be tough for Kentucky to beat Georgia. They've not done that since 2009. They came very close in 16. That 16 Kentucky game was very similar to the Missouri game in 2022. Just didn't end the season, didn't end the national championship. Then you look at the Vanderbilt game. Vanderbilt's not beating Georgia, so that would be a shocking result, even though the game is in Nashville. The Tennessee game, you know, something to pay attention to for sure. I mean, that's a tricky game for Georgia with the Vols, um, up there in Athens, excuse me, up there in Knoxville. That's going to be a tricky one for sure. I mean, it's rough out there. It's hard to win at Tennessee. When you look at the Gators, I am skeptical that Florida will have have their act together enough to beat Georgia in 2023. They could, Billy's got a ways to go to get where he needs to be. Just as a program, I don't see it personally. I don't. They really do have some problems at Florida that you wouldn't want to deal with. I mean, they're back-to-back losing seasons. You've got you know just a disgruntled fan base. I think clearly, um, it's problematic. It's problematic to be sure. Then you got the Missouri game at home. I don't see that being a major issue. The back-to-back with Ole Miss and Tennessee is going to be challenging. I think Mississippi is a team that's capable of beating Georgia just the same way Tennessee is. I just don't think Lane Kiffin's a very good coach. Um, I don't apologize for that. I think he's a very good coordinator. I mean, like an exceptional coordinator. I think if he were to ever get fired, that would be someone that you would take a look at to be honest. I mean, he's very good. But I don't think that I don't think he does a great job of running programs. Being a coordinator and running the program, those are two different things. And then obviously the game at Tech. Hey, look, is Tech gonna, keep it within 10 to 15 points? They really fought hard in 2022. Was that just one game scenario with the Jackets? I mean, they seemed to play better under Brent Key. They had the upset win over Pitt, who is not good. I get it. The week before the Georgia game, North Carolina going up to Chapel Hill and upsetting a North Carolina team that had momentum at that moment in the season. you know, Georgia Tech needs some capable players. They are not in the same universe as Georgia, but I agree with Larry about what he's saying here on with his look at who's really gonna knock these guys off, and I think the two teams to watch are LSU and Alabama, and probably in that order. LSU gave Georgia plenty of trouble in the second half of that game. There's going to be turnover. Georgia doesn't have the same quarterback. There's going to be defensive players you're going to have to replace, etc. But I think to me, that Georgia team, excuse me, that Georgia LSU, Georgia Alabama SEC championship game, presumptive. That would be where you could run into some trouble if you're the dogs. I don't know. We'll see. Hey, order double dogs today so you don't get left out waiting for it until like late March.